On the Shame and Fear of Poverty is an essay written by Richard Steele. This essay was published in the daily The Spectator on Wednesday, July 11, 1711. Steele talks about two different kinds of pretentious men in the first part of the essay. He begins by saying that people who have a good upbringing will have its effect on their conversations, and the conversations will be highly unnatural. And the second type of people are those who try to retain their fortune even when they are in a miserable condition. And they too will be very pretentious. So these type of men, no matter how hard they try, uh, will lose the image they have been trying to uphold and finally will be revealed to other people as miserable and scornful people. In Sir Roger's place, there's a dinner arranged for country gentlemen. A lot of people are invited, and after the dinner is over, liquor is served for all the guests. And the way in which the guests were gulping down the liquor that is offered to them um, is also described by the writer. And he begins to talk about the varied effects liquor has on them. And the writer notices one particular man. As he grew intoxicated, he started exhibiting signs of bitterness with his own life. He was a man of great fortune, but also he was um, he was a he was great in accumulating debts too. This man, identified to be a bad-tempered man, was lending money for interest, and his debts were accumulating, and he never once tried to dispose at least part of his fortune to pay off his debts. And he was only interested in retaining his full estate and all his fortunes, and he continued to pretend to be a rich man in spite of all his financial um, drawbacks. In Sir Roger's house, a vast dinner is arranged for country gentlemen, and there are a lot of guests who have come to the dinner party. After dinner is over, liquor is served for all the guests. The writer does not fail to include the varied effects liquor had on these people. Most of them were greedily gulping down the liquor that was offered to them, and uh, the effects of intoxication on all these people were very different in nature. Then the writer notices a particular gentleman who exhibited signs of bitterness with his own life. He was a man of great fortune, but he was in great debt too. He throughout he was trying to pretend to be a very rich man. He was not wise enough to sell part of his fortune to pay off his debts. The resultant consequence was he had underpaid servants with him who were very unhappy, and they did only um, half the work. Their work was very incomplete and not good enough. And the rich man himself is compared to an army official who has a smaller army, and with that smaller army, how he tries to take over a larger country. So, what is possible to the this army officer is that he can only have power over a smaller pass, but he is greedy enough and over ambitious enough to gain control over a larger country. Similar is the state of this greedy gentleman who was not rich anymore, but who was pretending to be rich. And because of his impersonation, this gentleman had to undergo a lot of torments caused by poverty. Steele gives us a long list, and some of the torments that he was enduring were he had to face restless nights, sleepless nights, nervousness, and he was also thoroughly afraid of the insults that moneylenders will throw on him. And despite all these sufferings, he continued to accumulate his debts. And his impersonation becomes his curse, and it becomes an unpardonable vanity with him. And this caused him at the last a lot of dishonor. And the writer tells us that not only this particular gentleman, but in Great Britain, there are so many such gentlemen who were committing this fatal error. Steele has a better idea for all these suffering gentlemen. He says he says that if they stop with their impersonation, if they stop all their pretensions, maybe there's a chance that they may fare well in life. And he uses the examples of two men to further explain this point. The first man goes by the name Laertes. Laertes was a man of great fortune. He had an estate out of which he hopes to have um, have £1,500 a year, which he mortgages to £6,000 a year. And Steele is of the opinion that if Laertes had sold some of his property, he would have saved 4 shillings in a pound. And Laertes, if there is an addition in the family, if there's a child born in the family, his need increases, thereby the debt amount also increases. And he's cursed with an extravagant life. He's not able to um, stop all the extravagances that he has become accustomed to. So he's driven to a display of unwanted lavishness, equipage, and different. He offers entertainments to his guests, and there's no way that he can put an end to all these lavishness. Because of this, his actions bring him closer to the shame of poverty. He initially he is only afraid of the shame that is attached to poverty, but since he does not change his ways in life, he is brought closer to this shame. The second man, Iris, is a man of moderate fortune. He earns around £1,200 a year. The only thing that he is afraid of is the fear of poverty. He is afraid of poverty, and that is why he leads a need-driven life. He does not yield to extravagance, and he puts in a lot of effort. He sells his own farm produce, he labors himself, he masters his laborers, and then he uses only less number of servants. And all these actions together keep him away from his fear of poverty, and he is able to do well in life, and that's how he succeeds in life. But Steele is of the opinion that these two methods are completely flawed and not to be followed. He is of the opinion that a man needs to find a balance between these two extremities. He should be very careful of not losing himself in the fight to win in life. And um, a man must be filled with lot of sense, and he must give lot of importance to his reasoning abilities. That is how he'll know how to prioritize um, the important things in his life. And at this point, Steele makes a reference to the writer Abraham Cowley, and he talks about the moderation of desires and control of mind, two things which will bring huge success to any man. And here also, here again, Steele talks about one of Roger's ancestor who was a successful practitioner of the third method. And the third method is considered to be the ideal method. And if you know what you want in life, um, that's when you will be happy and peaceful, and you'll be filled with a lot of contentment, says the writer. Now, if this principle is followed, all these three things are guaranteed to anyone: peace, happiness, and contented lives. Though Steele describes the third method, the method of moderation, to be the ideal method, he's very clear that it's not the way of the world. But it takes a lot of patience and it takes a lot of courage to follow the third method. And Steele concludes the essay by quoting from Abraham Cowley's verse. And the verse um, has the meaning that if someone becomes over ambitious or greedy, uh, he should seek the help of God. God, who is in heaven, then has to intervene, and he has to take away all the earlier blessings which he has granted to the man. So, when all these humble blessings are taken away from him, only then the man will know his place in life and he'll know his peace. So, this is how Steele ends the essay. And he is all in favor of the third method of moderation.